Well, hello, and a very warm welcome back to the Andrew Eborn Show with me, Andrew Eborn. And it's my favourite part of the show. It's back to the Futurist, putting the AI into Britain. And to help me do that, as always, is the wonderful Thea Montgomerie-Anderson. How are you, Thea?
I'm good.
We've,
Had some
we've been
tech
having all sorts of fun
dramas.
and games getting your camera angles right and so on and
Oh,
so
don't
forth.
even. I've got you on my phone today. I've got a laptop. I've got an iPad and
Yeah.
I've got a phone. And it's only the phone that wants to play ball with Zoom today. The laptop kept saying I don't recognize the password. And I'm like, it's the same password I put into the phone. But it is what it is. Zoom will be Zoom.
Zoom, we're all zoomed, as they used to say in Dad's Army. It's got to be
All
good.
right.
I thank you for the modern day version. Now, in case you don't know, and where have you been living under a rock, Thea is the co-founder and editor of at large of AI Spy magazine. Make sure you get your copy today. Thea is a unique individual, hailing from a traditional city legal politics and media background. She then retrained as part of a healing journey as a creative, completing 7 years in further education, mastering the dark art of social media, personal branding, and music, whilst being baptized with the waters of the transformational technology that is AI. And that sentence, in and of itself, was obviously written by AI. I love it. And as a writer and
It's all
speaker of
myself.
AI, it's got to be good. Passionate about AI's potential to empower and uplift the neurodivergent community. All good stuff. We're joined today, our special guest. Thea and I do lots of these with heavyweights in the industry, shining a spotlight on what brilliant things they're doing. Well, I'm delighted that we're joined by Stefan Mathys today, who's a visionary designer and system thinker. He's shaped over 25 collections for brands like Reiss and Harry's of London. He co-founded Vin, the world's first Long Luxe sneaker design for self-repair and sustainability. Good heavens, that sounds great, doesn't it? I love it. I hope you got lots of those to show us. 2 decades of experience in footwear and brand building. Stefan speaks on circularity and longevity, offering insights into designing systems that challenge the status quo and create opportunities for change. Stefan, a warm welcome to the Thea and Andrew Show.
Well, thank you for having me. Love it.
It's a joy. I tell you, we always have a bit of fun, don't we? I love it. We should just to then for the people at home, Thea, show us your nails today because I love those. Come
Yes, I have the
on.
star. I have the Star of Solomon. Connecting myself to the spirit world, and obviously Earth, and trapping all the bad demons. Then I can utilize all their power, and then I have the cross because I was called to the church when I was 27. Obviously, I'm not a priest. I'm just a parishioner. But okay, I like to wear my stuff on my nails, and I like the bright yellow because that triggers. Yellow gives off a frequency that's really good for your solar plexus chakra point. So and these are my own nails, by the way. They're real, just
Look
like
at
my
you with your
bio
own nails. You've
is
got to have at
real.
least AI generated nails. You can't come up with this fake stuff. I wish I had something similar to sort of make that make sense. We'll sort that out. Now, Stefan, let me come to you. You've worked with fantastic brands like Reiss and Harry's of London. How do you see AI transforming the creative process of designing products like footwear?
I think AI it's obviously a huge, huge, huge opportunity. Everything's just starting now, and you know, AI is the little small toddler that is learning and learning and learning every day. So I think, in the creative industry, obviously there's the gap still. Ideation is a human trait, I would say, that can't be done yet by AI, but it's definitely obviously a great tool, a great enhancer of like ideas, building like certain structures, kind of thinking about, hey, what does it look like? What does it like? Also like output, output, output. Obviously, it's so fast, like with generative AI and like pictures and videos and anything you can do today, and you can like build mock-ups and models very quickly that help definitely to kind of like speed up the design process and then also kind of eliminate waste in a good way as well because you can already see things very quickly rather than having to be like, oh, I need to make this and build this and have all this waste product around it. It's very like focused on like just building ideas and building them quick and nice and easy.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we've been looking at in this series. People always say, look, AI is going to take my job. And I always sort of try and make the point that basically AI is a brilliant co-pilot. What's your take on that?
Absolutely, that's exactly it. I think, every human is unique. We have one DNA, and that's us, and nobody can replace that in any way, shape, or form. So the only thing you can really do is like build yourself, be like, prepared to get out there, do the work, build things, and then like it's a great and brilliant partner to enhance your thoughts, your ideas, your you can just build things without having to know everything in a sense. So it's just additive, 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 and then you can build it all together. So it's a great, great tool for anything really at this stage.
Yeah. Thea?
I think AI is a great enabler, and it kind of gets you out the traps, as it were. I don't really see it taking over, but you know that I've said that. I think talented people will always be talented, and even within the fashion industry myself, I worked as a stylist, a personal stylist for many years. And what AI can't do is blend one's consciousness with another human being. And part of the personal styling job wasn't just to find clothes that somebody felt good in, but it was the psychological thing behind it. You know, or like for instance, now when I'm styling clients, a lot of the time it's taking them around Oxfam shops because sustainability is a thing now. Also, the cost of living crisis. And so for £150, I would take people shopping in secondhand stores, whether they're Oxfam or vintage, and interestingly enough, the thing people always want new is their footwear. Hence I met Stefan, because there was that kind of drama of like, what do you do? You know, I'm buying trainers that I can only use once, and nobody's going to recycle them because they smell. And leather trainers, they're lovely and comfortable once they're worn in, and then the heel goes. And that's obviously where Stefan's brand came in. So I can, give you new trainers, but it was as a human being. Appealing to their, you blend your consciousness with another person's. Somebody's got good energy or bad energy. And as a stylist, that's kind of your job, is to make somebody feel good about themselves and to move them on to the next stage of their life. What they think they need is rarely what they need, right?
Perfect. No, that's really good.
So I
No, I
don't
love all
see
that.
AI
I know,
taking
Stefan,
jobs.
you've got a big focus on longevity and repairability at Vin. That's the correct name of pronouncing the company, isn't it? It's not VYN, it's Vin.
It's Vin, yeah, yeah.
Perfect. Well, look, so tell me then, could AI help predict wear patterns or optimize designs for durability in ways that humans might miss?
I definitely think it can help track patterns, I would say. And then from that, you can always like put in learnings and kind of develop almost also, you know, production patterns and ideation on like, hey, okay, maybe there's other parts that go, or maybe there's other ideas we can build into the shoe that actually will enhance the longevity journey of the owners. Um, but yeah, I think again, AI is it will get into building all sorts of applications and ideation around anything we do. And with footwear specifically, I think the what we're trying to do, so it's kind of like a vision for the shoe is basically have a talking shoe. So the first contact you have with the shoe will be like a little tap on your phone, um, NFC enabled kind of communication. You put in your phone number, somebody like an AI agent calls you and talks you through the ownership journey, and you will have like somebody that will always be there to support you with your ownership journey for the length of however long you have the product. And then also with the disposal of it, it will give you like, hey, where can I send it? How can I deal with the now maybe waste product, but maybe it can also be recycled or reused or redone or refurbished. So there's a lot of, I think, great enabling that AI can do, also in terms of, things we don't necessarily focus on, let's put it that way, or not know anymore, especially about like footwear and how to treat our clothes, people don't know how to sew on buttons anymore. Well, it's not that hard if you would just do it. So
Mm.
the same in footwear, it's really about kind of, hey, what is footwear? Why do I buy it? And like, what is the journey with that? And we always talk about ownership journey because it is, everything we take into our lives is an ownership piece, and it becomes a journey. So we need to really like start there, being like more responsible, I guess, with those ownership journeys, and really own the pieces we let in our lives, and then kind of build from there. And I think AI as a tool can actually support with that a lot, because again, we don't know certain things anymore. Our mothers and grandmothers had a lot more hands on, just life was different, and they had to like, make do of things and build things and fix things and have it for longer and really take care of it. While today everything is fast and like on a click. And there's where AI is almost like so fast that it can slow down things again. in a
Well,
sense.
and that's good because I always say if you use it or lose it is the principle, isn't it? And you're right to cite our grandparents were obviously much more skilled at things which are now automated. You try and do mental arithmetic with people or spelling without a spell check. It just doesn't work. But you've built over 25 collections. Do you think AI could ever replace the intuition and craft of a human designer, or is it more of a collaborator, as I was saying before?
Um, I think that will tend to be seen in the end. You know, you, today you can do prompts. It will spit out a full collection. You can send it to a manufacturer. It will be done. Like you can do that today. So how great it will be? How will it sell? What is the strategy behind it and all that? Mm, I don't know. It's a very good question. The reality is, I think again, ideation is something that will always stay human, and especially like again, I'm different than you, you're different than Thea, everybody's different. So in terms of like life, obviously forms you and then builds like ideation that's moving forward in whatever field you are. Um, and AI just doesn't have that. It's just like a pool of like obviously a lot of knowledge, but then what actually to pick and how to build it.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's already possible. Is it really like does it will it have the soul and everything behind it if there's no human behind it? Probably not.
Well, and
Mm.
it's raising that. Theo and I were discussing this on previous episodes. Is in certain jurisdictions around the world, when you're looking at intellectual property, that's my background as an intellectual property lawyer, is there needs to be a human element in order to get protection. And it's that balance between existing human works, where the AI, if you like, scrapes the internet and basically uses that work, and the protection given to the creators. Thea, just talk us through, from your point of view, how you see that in the fashion industry. Because if you're using AI to generate these designs and so on and so forth, let's apply the logic to that. What's the best way of advancing sort of protection of those rights?
Well, as it stands, my understanding of fashion is anyway, if let's say you see something on the catwalk, you only have to make 7 changes and then you've got your own version of it. So I would say that I've never been any much protection of people's fashion rights. Do you know what I mean? Like I see a lot of faux Vivienne Westwood running around, and it's not exactly the same as Vivienne Westwood, but it's in the mood of Vivienne Westwood. I think that where AI is going to be quite interesting in
I should
fashion
point
is
out as a lawyer, sorry to interrupt you, that that's not
mm,
necessarily legally sound 7 changes, but it's an interesting thought. It
but it
sounds
was
good.
like one of the things when I was at interior like years and years ago, I studied interior design. It's one of the things they told us. They're like, pretty much this is like it's just 7 as long as it's not it's different enough. And like Shein are very guilty of this, right? Or whatever. They'll give you something that's very nice cut, very much in the mood of, and for a tenth of the price. And it gets delivered to your door. And have I bought from Shein? Yes, I have. Do I prefer, as for somebody who styles neurodiverse people, the reason I recommend not buying fast fashion and that Zara as well as fast fashion is because of the materials they're making it from. They give off toxins that will trigger you. Whereas when you buy high quality fashion like Vin's trainers, most of my clientele are neurodiverse, high net worth individuals who are exceedingly sensitive human beings. Then when you have a real leather substance, depending on what it's been treated with, it doesn't give off as many toxins. Your feet absorb a lot of toxins. You can actually it can be quite a dangerous experience wearing all rubber shoes for your body somatically. And it's the same when you're wearing clothes. There have been cases I think now where they've been proving that the kind of nylon factors are making it harder for men to have active sperm that creates babies. Whereas when you wear a cotton that's untreated or a silk, and this is why when you look at the guy who owned All Saints, you'll remember his name, Stefan. He has now gone into the brand of remaking old clothes that are high quality, good materials and upgrading them and updating them for today so they're sustainable and fashionable. I do think that where AI will come into its own in fashion is if you're a young designer wanting to work out what you should actually be making, is that you can utilize AI to help you make your design. But more importantly, you could then go forward and create a social media campaign for pennies and put it out there and see which one of your designs hits. And then that is the one you would go forward and manufacture. And you could do that all in the space of like a few days. Because literally, if something's going to hit on social media, you will know in 48 hours if that's hitting or not.
Yeah, and
Does
it
that
makes
make
sense.
sense?
Well, Stuart Traynor and
Mm.
Carl Bolongaro founded All Saints in 1994, if I remember right, with a bit
Mm.
of help from Google.
Stuart
So,
Trevor, that was it. Well
You're
done.
Trevor, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Stuart Trevor. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Stuart Trevor, who's gone off to make fabulous clothes.
yeah.
But he's a Scot from Dundee. We are very good at making something out of nothing in Scotland.
And talking about making something out of nothing, and looking at we talked about the AI and the design process. And Vin, you're breaking the buy, use, dispose cycle. So talk to me, Stefan, about how AI can enhance the circularity in fashion, from material sourcing to end of life recycling.
Well, AI is obviously the attachment to blockchain is like one big piece, I would say. That's always once once you can actually embed a code into a product that becomes a physical product and kind of look around like, okay, what is the supply chain and manufacturing look like from material to a final product? That's an interesting journey you can map out. It obviously needs a lot of, you know, still help and input from all the different vendors. So that's a bit complex, let's put it that way, to kind of like, if I look at the shoe, we have like, in our shoe, we have like 29 components. So if I want to go back to, the sync that is used in an eyelet or the thread that is used for lace or leather, like where did the cow come from, where was it bred, and how does it, all these things, they're all like there, you can get them, but it's obviously like a very long and intense process. But then what blockchain and AI does is kind of like once you get it in a person's hand, like the owner of the product, they will then kind of start working with it, right? And there is really kind of like where anything and everything can happen, I would say, with AI enhancement. Like I just said, like, if you have that almost like a brand custodian that talks about the product to you on a almost like regular basis, calls you like every month and is like, hey, how is your shoe going? Like, can we do anything? And they're like, oh no, I don't need anything right now. Or they're like, oh, actually my lace broke. Okay, here's a lace. Like, let's send it there. So there's also like almost like an automation that is, but that it's personalized because every person wears things differently. And then I think the more interesting, or one of the other interesting things, is kind of like the end of use piece, where you then have like, what do you actually do with products and things that you don't want anymore? And then everybody's like, oh, I just give it to charity. Well, we know where that ends.
Yeah.
So the reality is like, I think as a manufacturer or as a somebody that built something, you actually also need to take responsibility at the end. So it needs to come back in one way or another. And then again, there is like we just talked about Stuart Trevor, there is obviously like if you get a shoe back that is worn in, it is actually very beautiful. And if you just
Hmm.
need to put a new sole on it or like a new insole in it or new laces on it or like clean it up, why not do that and like sell it to somebody else that can have like another 5 years out of it? And this is really like an ownership journey piece that we need to start kind of thinking about how do we own things and how do we build this longevity piece within it. And AI, I think, is like always an enabler to support with all these
Yeah.
journs
And I think
and
that
can be very
that's
good.
a good way of phrasing it. It is a support. You mentioned that we know what happens with charity shops. What does happen?
Well, unfortunately, obviously, a lot of charity shops sell clothes, right, secondhand, which is
Hmm.
great, or shoes, or whatever they get. But unfortunately, there's also a very big amount that is just straight going into Ghana or other kind of, as we call the global south. And then
Hmm.
what happens there is like they then try to sell it or make something out of it. And then if that doesn't happen, then we have like a big pile of rubbish in
Yeah.
another country. And I I just had this read a little article about like we throw things away and away. Where is that
Off the
gonna be?
island.
It's not
Hmm.
here. Like if I would throw things here, saying like in my apartment, everything you dispose of, you put it in your
Hmm.
apartment here. You don't
Yeah.
want that. But away is fine. So there's a psychological thing with that being like, okay, we can throw it away, it's fine. Well, actually, it's not. It will still stay somewhere, and obviously, there's a big challenge with all our landfills, everything we're doing, and the overproduction and overconsumption we have currently.
And that's what Thea and I often talk about this, about changing the mindset and sort of don't bin it, spin it, would be a
Yeah.
sort of come off with glorious phrases and things like that. Now, Thea, you mentioned earlier that you go around these charity shops, you take clients there, 150
Yes.
quid, you can pick things out. How big is the problem in charity shops?
You know, the charity shops themselves are the ones. So the one I've got a really good relationship with a lot of the charity shop managers. So they know that I'm coming and they know the sort of thing my clients will like, and we do photo shoots and all that. And I would say that the throwing things away, as you said, we throw things away abroad. I mean, there was a big scandal years ago that China was taking all our rubbish and dumping it in the sea because they had enough of their own landfill. And that all of this is very short-sighted because it's damaging. If you look at the food source sort of resources, if you look at fish, they're actually quite damaged these days, whether they're farmed or wild. The sea has become a toxic place. And if you look at water, I studied water. There's a lady called Veda Austin where she has this book where you can actually get an iPhone, some petri dishes, and you can study water yourself. So if you write love onto it, it creates these beautiful crystal patterns. If you have write the word dagger on it, it makes a dagger shape. Well, whatever you put in the ocean, water itself has memory and it starts mirroring it. So if you put in a drum full of toxic chemicals, the water around that becomes quite toxic. The Nazis found this when they were doing stuff, and by accident somebody put something in water and there's a toxin, and it was in a little vial, and it hadn't actually come out of the vial. And when they tested the water around it, it turned into the same chemical signature as the toxin inside. So there is a very, very, very big issue. Within the UK, we have our own landfill sites that are just horrific. And outside, now a country, interestingly enough, who didn't have this issue post the Second World War was Eastern Germany. They had a very, very efficient recycling, that everything got recycled from buttons to things. It wasn't until they joined with Western Germany that recycling program was abandoned, and now they have the same problems that we all have. Um, I'm sad to say, but it's because of the cost of living and stuff like that. People have now taken to shopping, more uniquely in charity shops and secondhand vintage shops. It's not because they're really thinking so much about the planet. Some of them talk that talk, but trust me, if they had an extra 200 grand a year to spend, they'd be buying new. So
Yeah.
there is a mindset issue here. And I do think that some of that education needs to start at school. I'm from the Highlands, where getting to shops was an issue. So I have trunks and trunks of clothes that belong to other family members of ball gowns. And when I go to a ball, I just bang out a ball gown and maybe take it to a tailor and get a little bit edited. The great thing is, I know that I'm not wearing the same thing as somebody else. The other great thing is it's natural fibers. And I do think that in the old, so I have a pair of shoes that I wore for at school when I was 16, Russell and Bromley leather soled shoes. And the great thing, because of the leather soled, I just keep getting those soles replaced, and they're the most comfortable loafers ever. And I'm now 48. So they've had a few wears. And this is the great thing about his trainer brand, is that it's beautiful leather it's made out of. It's very comfortable. And if you can resole those, yeah, I would do that, especially when it's a limited edition upper that you can't get again. And I think that is something that maybe isn't being pushed enough, and that's because of the way that we measure our country on GDP. That's really toxic. I think we should be measuring our country on well-being and cleanliness.
Well, there's
The quite.
there's the difficulty, isn't there? Because you say there's
Mm.
that economic balance where they say, look, don't invent the everlasting light bulb because otherwise the industry collapses.
Yeah, but is that such a bad thing? I don't think so.
What, for the
There
industry
are
to
other things.
collapse?
Well, I don't think it's going to collapse just like that. Realistically, in the everlasting light bulb, people will want to change the light bulb colors. LED light bulbs came out. Now they're saying that actually LED light bulbs stop you from sleeping properly. So the halogen light bulb was better. There's always something somewhere. And if the energy bulb industry has to slim down, then that's what has to happen. People said, "Oh, we don't want to cancel cigarettes." Oh, but it's okay to kill people with them. Really? I don't think so. So at the end of the day, the people who've invested in that industry can redirect their money elsewhere. Look, we have new AI coming out. We've got robotics. We've got medtech, which AI is phenomenal for.
Yes,
In
absolutely.
femtech, AI has been phenomenal, right? So there are always places for investors to reinvest their monies. There is a fear mentality. Wait, things are going to get worse. We're going to lose our jobs. Or there's a positive mentality. Great. Let's use less of the world's resources because AI does use a lot of the world's resources, let's be honest. So if we slim down that use in one area and then repurpose it into AI, which can make people healthier, happier, more educated, then that's phenomenal. So maybe it is time we had the light bulb. And that light bulb was invented years ago, let's be honest. But they give them short time spans, so we
Oh,
have
no,
to keep
absolutely.
rebuying them.
Well, even our friends at Apple, they make sure you can't open this and replace the parts because you've got to get your new Apple
And that's
4027.
toxic. That is very toxic and short-sighted because the way the world's going, people are going to be so ill they can't go to work. There'll be nobody to buy things. That's why getting rid of people and replacing them with AI is a toxic concept. David Schreier is an academic. He's a lecturer at Imperial. He talks about this at length. He also advises billion-dollar funds on what to invest in. He's quite a prolific investor, an innovator. He calls himself a futurist. And he put MIT's fintech programs for entrepreneurs online. That was him, and a girl suggested it, and he made it happen, right? And so he talks about how actually we have to use AI to enable people to make them superhuman, to make them better.
Right.
And I completely agree with that, and I think we can do the same with businesses. It can slim it down, and someone like Stefan, for instance, doesn't need a workforce of 1,000 people to compete with Tory Birch because he can have AI agents running off and doing loads of things and analyzing data and doing this and doing that and creating less wastage, more value, and a bigger profit margin.
So let's look at that then, Stefan. I mean, you have a look at that sort of thing, and looking at how you're using AI tools with your work at VIN, perhaps prototyping testing materials, and also maybe even self-repair mechanisms in sneakers. Talk to me about some of those.
So AI, obviously, we use the usual kind of like chat to do like write things for us, like emails and things. We haven't automated a lot yet. So Thea is very right. We should start using like agents and like really build like some just smart tech to kind of like support us with everything we're doing in the background. Um, of course, there's the shoe itself always still needs to be done, needs to be made by hand. So there's not that much there in a sense. But there's obviously from from marketing, from
Mm.
content creation, from building new streams of income, and kind of like again what I said about like the talking shoe. In reality, like then once you have that and you have like a digital copy through
Mhm.
the NFC tag of the shoe, out of a sudden it becomes a wearable in Roblox, and you can like build one that has like flames on it, or you can like do all sorts of things with like a digital version of it that becomes a wallet item you can just put on like 3D models or wearables in games and everything else. And that obviously can also like build income and new ideation to like, oh, what is this and why is it like this? And then if you go crypto, you can then be like, oh, actually you can also like build crypto into every shoe and say like, hey, you get with every shoe you get a token, and the token represents a part of the investment into the company because you want the shoe and the lasting and the thing, and you agree with what the company stands for. So there's almost like a vertical in a sense that kind of becomes a digital. It, it's not maybe just AI, but it's kind of like just a digital avatar of like what you're doing in the real world, and that can be as profitable in a sense as probably the real world piece.
Right. Okay. And finally, then, just looking for the future. People will talk about decades. Actually, I think it's moving much faster than that. Talk about months sometimes.
Yeah.
Where do you see AI taking the intersection of design, system thinking, maybe sustainability, both for VIN and also the broader industry?
Go on.
Oh no, I
That's,
was just thinking.
that's what it was.
I was thinking it could go anywhere. I mean, when you look at what your brand does, and if you're AI enabling a lot of it, what I always think about with the shoe like Vin, its key selling point is because you can replace the soles. Is it's something that you want to maintain. So you can also look at your health. So I have a funny gait. So when I know, so most people in my family end up with one dodgy knee on the left, and that's a kind of inherited gait thing. And I had a woman fix it. And it goes out now and again. And it actually, when you look at the shoe heel, that will be, that particular, my left shoe needs replacing more than my right. And then I know when my gait's correct and that my body isn't actually like the left and right leg aren't out of sync. because then the shoes don't wear out at different times. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I find the whole thing of putting the shoe on the blockchain, working this out from a health data point of view, because hip replacements, knee replacements, these a lot of people, 50% of them, they don't take. And actually, if you catch this early enough, I found out this in my 20s, because my mum had a major issue. So I've been watching it. So I don't have the issues at 48 that my mother had at 48, because I've been focused on it, and so has my sister. And I literally look at the heels of my shoes and stuff like that, and I check this out. And so I find, the potential of where Vin can go very, very exciting. I mean, God, you guys are doing a raise at the moment, and I'd say £500,000 well spent, because this is a great time for a new brand like yours. Because what happens, because everybody's now been scandalized for the lack of sustainability of their products, and trainers are a thing. Trainers aren't going anywhere. So how do you make these more planet friendly? How do you make them more healthy for you as a human being? Well, ideally a leather top sole and a rubber heel, and the bit that can be replaced, phenomenal. But it means that other brands can then partner with you, like the likes of Tory Burch, right? And then suddenly overnight they can become sustainable because you're already there. Whereas for a brand that is older and has a lot of legacy IT and just legacy staff that you can't get rid of, and the mentality of the way the staff are thinking, they don't have the opportunity, say, that Vin have, particularly when you look at, even if you go onto something like Grok, and that you can make, like, you can do Python code on Grok, and you can very easily write a quick app in about 20 minutes that could pull it could pull like information from PDFs of like what's trending health wise, what's this, and then it can put together and make you a spider plan, and you can utilize that to create a marketing plan, or to create a shoe, or to find your D2C, direct to consumer market, and it may well be in Brazil for you or something like that. So I find this a really exciting time to have a brand and have a product which you've made, which you've proven is successful, you've proven people want, and actually you've got all this other amazing tech that means a couple of people at home can really pop stuff. Instead of having like 20 or 30 people in a marketing meeting, it's like you and one other and somebody who understands about AI.
Brilliant stuff.
I think it's a very exciting time for anybody who's got a product right now, because you can just take advantage of it before anybody else is doing it. You can move
Yeah.
quickly.
No, fantastic. It really is an exciting time. I mean, it's always that balance as well, isn't it, between
Mm.
customization and sustainability. How do you cover that then, Stefan?
So well, I guess that's where the shoe comes in.
I was
So
going to
there's
say we've had a whole program on shoes without seeing a
exactly
single one. There it is. Thank God for
exactly where
that.
is it? So this is my used pair, but basically
Yes,
what you see here is like obviously the heel is already going. So what we
yes.
did is like this piece here, you can just easily like put a coin in, like whatever you want, and then turn it, and then it just comes off.
Okay.
So you have two pieces, and then this heel piece can then be replaced with other colors or a different
Mhm.
style or whatever you want. So that's kind of like a small little detail. Obviously, it's very functional. It's very longevity driven. It's our Long Luxe piece, as we call it. And then you can like design into that and build on it. Obviously, like you can do laces, you can do different parts of the shoe as
Yeah.
well, depending on like what you want to do and how we're going to do it. So there's all this like individual small personalization piece in there as well, and then of course like the main models will always be available, and we'll also have like special editions. We did a great collaboration with David Teplitsky, who's an art dealer,
Mm.
international art dealer, and did like really like wonderful, beautiful, colorful things, and he designed it all with the sun in mind. So it was all like really bright, beautiful colors. He lives in
Like
Phuket, so
Thea's nails.
exactly, yeah. We didn't do that yellow yet, but that will come as well. So there's a lot of individualization obviously already happening, and we make small batches as well, and like
Right.
pre-order and pre-production, like theater in
Well,
in
fantastic.
yeah,
Well, we're
maybe.
gonna get you back. We're gonna continue following you on your journey. If people want to find
Yeah.
out more about you, and even if they don't, how can they get in touch? Tell us your handles and everywhere else.
So best is vyn.one. So vin.one is our website, so you can look at it, have a little snoop. My personal address is Stefan, Stefan at vyn.one. So Stefan at vin.one. That's probably the easiest way to get in contact with me, because yeah, that's the
Perfect. Well,
business
we're doing
business
that. Well, it's
difference. So
time to
you
give
know,
you the boot. I think we're waiting for that all the time. We will. You see what I did there? We will get you back. But for now, Thea, as always, we'll get you back. We're having some
Yeah.
more brilliant people in this. And if you do want to get in touch, you've got suggestions for guests, then you can follow me at Andrew Eborn at Octopus TV. Do subscribe to the channel. Click that button now. It's free. Everybody's favorite four-letter word. Thea, remind people how they can get hold of you.
Thea at aispymedia.com. Go onto the website. You can register for the magazine. You can download a free January copy. We had Macy Gray and Nefertiti Strong as our main story. Nefertiti used to rap with Tupac.
Fantastic. I love it. We're spoiling you rotten here on the Andrew Eborn Show. As always, thank you very much for joining us here. We will see you next time. Take care.